Hello and welcome to Murder Chronicles. Today's story is both horrifying and almost unbelievable. A story full of mystery and disaster. The murder case for a 21-year-old nun by the name Sister Abhaya took 28 years to get resolved. It is a story full of enigma, disturbing, marked with hypocrisy and betrayal of the highest order. Sister Abhaya was born on the 26th of February 1972 in Kottayam, Kerala, India. Kerala, just like most places in India, is a beautiful place. It is full of churches and places of worship, a practice that is greatly upheld by the people in the area. St. Pius X Convent is one of the renowned places of worship in Kerala. The facility harbored so many women who came to study. Among the women included young nuns who were dedicated to the gospel and serving God. Among the group of young nuns was the 21-year-old Sister Abhaya. She was in her pre-degree college. Sister Abhaya was well known for her dedication and hard work. She was used to waking up early in order to extend her study hours. She was determined towards excelling for her upcoming exams. On the morning of 27th March 1992, she woke up at around 4 a.m. in the morning. The daybreak was glorious for her. As she got ready for the day, she had greeted some of her fellow sisters before heading to the study. After some time of studying, Sister Abhaya needed a short break. She headed straight to the kitchen, leaving her books back in the study room. At least, taking a glass of cold water would keep her awake for a few remaining morning hours. After everyone was awake that morning, an unexpected turn of events took place. The rest of the nuns had noted that Sister Abhaya was missing. The search of the sister began, and later, they found an open water bottle on the floor of the kitchen, with water spilling beneath it. A few steps away, a single slipper belonging to Sister Abhaya was discovered. The question now was, where was Sister Abhaya? The search for Sister Abhaya intensified across the convent, but moments later, the other slipper was discovered near the convent's well. Suddenly, one of the sisters screamed in shock after noting Sister Abhaya's body floating inside the well. Her body was later pulled out of the well. Shock ran across the convent and the neighboring households. Just last night, she was full of life, shared moments with her colleagues, and she excitedly talked about her future. That very same individual, who was full of life and determination a few hours ago, was now being pulled out of the well, lifeless and non-responsive. The first police officer to arrive at the scene was V.V. Augustine. He initiated the usual process. After examining Sister Abhaya's body, Augustine made a report, then summoned a photographer who took the photos of her body. He then delivered the body for an autopsy process. The autopsy report later came out. The doctors reported that Sister Abhaya had severe cuts and injuries all over her head, but drowning was the ultimate cause of death. The final report was finally delivered. It stated that Sister Abhaya died of suicide, but with the possibility of murder. However, the people did not buy any of the conclusion. They were left with lingering suspicion. Why would she have to set an alarm, wake up very early, just to go ahead and commit suicide? They were also puzzled by the state in which the kitchen was discovered that very morning. An open door to the fridge, a water bottle on the floor with an open cap, and one of her slippers. The scene depicted a picture of an action done so hurriedly. They were not convinced by the report. Many believed that this was a murder and not suicide. Someone must have been trying to cover up, especially because this had happened in a convent. Whoever was behind the cover-up wanted to erase the doubt in people's thoughts. How could Abhaya die in a convent, a sanctuary and a place believed to be full of safety for the young women? Such a tragic event happening within a convent was very out of the ordinary. This left the community at large with great dispute. A zealot by the name Jamon Puten Parako became committed towards pursuing justice for Sister Abhaya's case. He formed a committee to seek justice. Through his effort, the case was finally handed over to the Central Crime Branch back in April 16th. After working towards the case unrelentingly, the Central Crime Branch released its report a few months later. The case was finally officially handed over to the Crime Branch, who dedicated 2 months of investigation. In the end, their report read that Sister Abhaya's death was a suicide. Her body had by then been laid to rest, her clothes burned, a step that made it difficult for the authorities to piece more medical evidence together. Was this move intentional? Why would they bury her so quickly? Why would they burn her clothes so quickly? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. The case had become very debatable all over Kerala and beyond. Fellow nuns protested and the media engaged. Many theories had emerged on what exactly had happened to Sister Abhaya. Fellow nuns went through a lot of pressure from the media, activists, and the community at large. This led to a step further. The case was handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI. The CBI initiated a fresh investigation into the case. They used a different approach by searching for fresh evidence. They interrogated old and new witnesses. Surprisingly, as the CBI continued with the case, a dark turn of events happened in the year 1994. A CBI senior officer by the name Verghese T. Thomas held a press conference. He revealed some maddening details. He revealed that he was being threatened to declare the case of Sister Abhaya as a suicide case. He chose to retire early, 9 years before his mature retirement date. He would have officially retired in the year 2003. His revelation made the case become a big blow-up, and once again, the people could not comprehend why the matter was becoming too distracting. Where was the pressure from, and why was it too difficult to finally resolve the crime? However, his move did not interfere with the CBI. They continued to investigate for some time, without a source of deriving any medical evidence. they were forced to carry out a dummy test. They made a dummy human the same size and weight of Sister Abhaya. They had the dummy tossed into the well and recorded the sites of possible injuries to the doll. Later, they compared the dummy's injuries to those of Sister Abhaya. Sadly, after the test, they still did not manage to get any clear evidence that would help determine a conclusion. 3 years later into the investigation, they delivered a final report. It stated, "We believe that this should be treated as a murder case. We tried everything possible to determine who was responsible for the tragic event, but regardless, we could not piece together any solid results." Despite the authorities' efforts, after 4 years into the investigation, the crime branch, as well as the CBI, did not have any conclusive evidence or report on what exactly happened to Sister Abhaya. Unfortunately, the report given by the CBI was rejected, and a new CBI team was assigned the case. The new team carried out their own investigation afresh. After 3 more years, that is in the year 1999, they came to a conclusion that Sister Abhaya's death marked so many indicators of possibility of murder. The medical findings that the new team had just analyzed drove them towards making such conclusions. 3 doctors who were very new to the case had performed a fresh autopsy. They had found out more several injuries that had not been mentioned in the initial postmortem report. They had been missed earlier. The day that Sister Abhaya was discovered from the well, Officer Vivi Augustine had summoned a photographer. This photograph helped prove that indeed Sister Abhaya had more injuries than the ones mentioned in the first postmortem. The sisters who discovered her body also confirmed the report. This was the first discovery that helped in proving that the sister did not take away her own life, but was rather murdered. The unfortunate truth that remained was that though the CBI had admitted the murder conclusions, they could not prove or find who actually killed Sister Abhaya. Whether you believe it or not, for the third time, the court rejected the report. In the year 2005, a new investigation took off. They also reported that the death was a murder case but could not prove the killer. The report was once again rejected. This swelled anger among the activists and the community. There was great outroar among the media, accusing the authorities of poor investigation methods, especially in the initial days. They also claimed that Sister Abhaya was buried so quickly, a step that hindered the discovery of the truth and enough supporting medical evidence. Other personal items belonging to Sister Abhaya had been burned, such as her diary alongside her clothes. The media had further accused the investigating officers of having an incomplete postmortem report. Their argument was that someone very powerful was trying to cover up to protect the culprit responsible for her death. Due to this uproars and the media pressure, a new team was appointed to look into the case. In the year 2007, 15 years since Sister Abhaya died, some shocking details surfaced. Up to this point, some of the eyewitnesses had already backed up from the case. Others had sadly passed away. However, by surprise, a new witness emerged. He was offering a key lead towards finding the truth about what happened to Sister Abhaya. An ordinary and unknown thief came forward. He had been involved in many crimes of theft and burglary, and now he wanted to testify on exactly what had happened that morning. But why was he quiet since the year 1992? Why, after 15 years? Would his testimony be reliable or even believable? However, his testimony was quite intriguing and events-changing. Meet Dakar Raju. The man admitted to have committed theft around 1992. He stole from places such as houses, offices, and also churches. He would later sell the stolen items, use the money to raise, feed, and educate his young family. In that early morning of March 27, 1992, Dakar Raju broke into the St. Pius convent with a plan to steal. His target was some copper rods and wires at the rooftop of the convent building. He wanted to steal them and later sell it to his frequent buyer, a scrap metal dealer in the area. He arrived there in the dark dawn. When he was there, Dakar Raju had witnessed an event that was quite unusual. A priest was sneaking into the convent. That was quite puzzling for him, since it was not only awkward but also not allowed. This was Father Thomas Couture. He was left with lingering questions and suspicions. He had also seen Sister Sifi and another priest by the name Jose Putricayo. To him, this was completely awful and creepy. Now, the reason as to why Dakar Raju remained silent for all these years was, how was he supposed to testify, yet he was in the convent to commit a crime? Who would even believe him? Besides, he was afraid that, in case he came out clean at that time, he would be locked away for a very long time. He never wanted to take the chances of jeopardizing his young family's life. Dakar Raju was shocked when he learned about Sister Abhaya's death that very day. He was sure that maybe Sister Abhaya had also witnessed the same thing he had witnessed. This truth weighed heavily in his heart until 15 years later when he finally reported to the police to offer his testimony. Things, however, turned upside down for Dakar Raju. After his statement, he was immediately arrested and accused him of the murder of the sister. The police quickly twisted the theory and claimed that after Raju entered the convent to steal, he unexpectedly ran into a nun. After the nun tried to scream for help, Raju panicked, attacked Sister Abhaya, and then tossed her body into the well, and he then escaped. Dakar Raju was detained for 58 days, during which he was reportedly tortured by the police and forced to confess of killing Sister Abhaya. When torture didn't work, the police had tried to offer him a good job, money, and a good life for his family. However, he stood his ground. All this time, Raju faced torture alongside his scrap metal buyer Shamil. The two men refused to take the blame. Due to his firm stand, Raju was threatened with false accusations, but despite it all, he remained firm amid the corrupt and ruthless justice system. However, his honesty that lodged deep inside his heart, knowing that he did not hurt Sister Abhaya, made him get through these hard moments. His resilience was admirable even in court as he stood by the truth in his heart. Out of this, Father Thomas Couture, Father Jose Putricayo, and Sister Sefi, they became the main suspects in the case. A nearby neighbor also made a statement confirming that he had seen Father Thomas Couture's scooter parked by the convent's gate that night, not once but severally. And even for that night, the neighbor had gone by for a cup of tea in a nearby shop. By the time he was returning at around midnight, he said that he saw the scooter belonging to Father Thomas Couture right there by the convent's gate. However, this had not gotten deep into his thoughts. The police almost dismissed Raju's statement. They were not even ready to look into his claim. All they did was try to force him to take the fall. The question was, who was it, and how powerful was the person who would go to an extent of bribing Raju with such money and luxury? Rumors were rife that Father Thomas Couture and Sister Sefi were having a romantic relationship and lived almost like a married couple. It was alleged that Father Thomas Couture had once told someone close about his relationship with Sister Sefi. People outside the convent discussed the observation about the clergy persons. Even the nuns made such assumptions and would sometimes openly discuss it among themselves. Due to Raju's testimony, the CBI named Father Thomas Couture, Jose Putricayo, and Sister Sefi as the main suspects for the murder of Sister Abhaya. During a court proceeding, the defendant's attorney tried to paint Raju as a witty criminal. He presented before the presiding judge 10 criminal cases against Dr. Raju, where he was accused. Even before the court, Raju admitted to his previous crimes, but not to the one of killing Sister Abhaya. As much as the three suspects' lawyers had tried to bring Raju down, he stood his ground in the fight for justice for the innocent soul of Sister Abhaya. The three suspects were finally taken to Bangalore for a narco test. For clarity reasons, a narco test or a narco-analysis test is a test conducted by injecting a drug called sodium pentothal into the accused's body, which takes them to a hypnotic or sedated state in which their imagination is neutralized, and so this person becomes incapable of lying and only gives information that is true. The leading doctor in this process was called Dr. Molini. Their confession was recorded in 3 separate CDs and were sent to the Kerala Judiciary Court. A discovery later came to light, showing that the record tracks in the CDs had been tinkered with. Dr. Molini was summoned by the court to explain the discrepancies. However, she had earlier been suspended from the case, which left the narco test defined as incomplete. All the people present during the narco test were questioned, but they all claimed that the CDs had not been tampered with. Out of pressure, the CDs were delivered to the Central Development of Imaging Technology, CDIT. After data analysis, the specialist managed to identify the first CD. It belonged to Father Thomas Couture. It had a full recording of data, 32 minutes and 50 seconds long, with 30 visible edits. Then, Father Jose's CD was second, with a total length of 40 minutes and 55 seconds, with 19 visible edits. The third belonged to the sister, that is Sister Sefi, with a recorded length of 18 minutes and 42 seconds and had been edited 23 times. Out of these findings, the CBI was given a 10 days ultimatum to present the original narco test CDs by the court of law. 3 days later, the long-awaited day came. The CDs that recorded the three suspects during the narco test were aired in live television countrywide. The details to who and how the narco test CDs were aired on the local TV remains unknown. The CDs revealed how the two priests, Father Thomas Kotoa and Jose Putricayo, committed the heinous act. What exactly happened to Sister Abhaya that peaceful morning? On that morning of March 27th, Sister Abhaya was awake in the study room. After a moment of study, she got thirsty and needed to cool herself down with a bottle of cold water. That is when she went straight to the fridge in the kitchen, got a bottle of water before hearing weird human noise in the other area of the kitchen. That is when she went to check in. Horrifying enough, she found the three, Father Thomas Kotoa, Father Jose Putricayo, and Sister Sefi, in a compromising position. They could not let her get away with such discoveries, and so they attacked her immediately. Sister Sefi had grabbed the kitchen axe, used for splitting wood, and hit Abhaya on the head. That was confirmed during the autopsy, which showed that Sister Abhaya had bad head injuries. Then, the three quickly dragged her to the convent well and threw her body there to cover up their criminal act. After the airing of the CD evidence, the three were taken through a series of questioning, and in the year 2009, they were released on bail. Father Jose Putricayo was cleared of the case. How absurd! Many other criminal cases came by, got resolved and went by, leaving Sister Abhaya's case as pending up to the year 2020. In this year 2020, 28 years since Sister Abhaya was brutally murdered, the Kerala High Court sentenced Father Thomas Kotoa and Sister Sefi to life imprisonment based on the evidence derived from the narco test and the courageous testimony. The court also fined the two criminals with 5 lakh rupees, which is equivalent to $5,947.44 US. And finally, one of the India's most disturbing cases was finally resolved, and that is the disturbing case of Sister Abhaya's murder. If there is a case you would want us to cover as the Murder Chronicle family, please let us know in the comments section. Meanwhile, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.